Welcome back, everybody, to a festive edition of the Shift Gear podcast. Aneil and I are recording this December 26th, working hard for our loyal listeners there. Aneil, how was your Christmas?
Unreal, man. Always a good time to hang out with the family. And I don't actually have my Santa hat today because I feel like it's over, Like, as soon as the 26th hits, I'm like down bad, back to reality. So, I don't know. How was your Christmas?
It was good. I'm still wearing my Christmas sweater here. Good, just spend time with the family, time off work. Relaxed, so no complaints on my end.
Sweet. Yeah, it's always like a busy time, right? Because like at least I guess at our age, like people come back from like school or work or wherever they live, right? So there's so many people to see, so much to do, and I like Pokemon is like the last thing on my mind. But at the end of the day, I want to go back and I want to play some cards. So I'm excited to be back to talk about some cards for a bit.
Yeah, and speaking of cards, we had a lot revealed this week. One card in particular caused a lot of debate on Twitter, myself included, the catcher card, which we can get to. But before that, why don't we start with some like tournaments that did happen? We had the Kyoto Champions League, and I don't know if you had the chance to check out those results.
Briefly, looks as you said before we came on, it looks a bit Mickey, but hey, we're here to dissect things. We don't ask questions.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. We saw Kyogre win. We haven't seen that deck perform that well in this format yet. We saw Roaring Moon get second with the Darkrai V-Star, and we saw Gholdengo Palkia get third. So, and there's also a Pikachu Zeraora VMAX Arceus deck in top 8. So lots of interesting stuff happening there. So why don't we start off with like the Lost Box deck here? What do you think about Kyogre in this format, and like why do you think Haruki was able to win the tournament?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because we didn't think the Terra abilities would have too much of an effect, but when I think about it now, I'm like, okay, Charizard's kind of good. It shuts off like Kyogre. Obviously, you can't touch it. That matchup's already hard because you're at 330 health, you're beefy, you're a big boy, and Kyogre can't touch you. So to me, in my head, I'm not entirely sure how that won the tournament. But hey, man, I'm here for it. I love it. It's always nice to see different decks do well, and this tournament specifically featured a lot of different stuff, so I think that's why it was a good talking point. What do you think about the Lost Box deck? Are you surprised at it well?
Like kind of. Like I looked at the top cut, it was a lot of Charizard, but they were playing like the new Lost Stone build that plays the Iron Hands, the Roaring Moon. So I guess honestly, like a lot of the Charizard decks have started cutting Radiant Charizards. They don't have a one prizer to weave in there. So if you can like lead with the Iron Hands, and then even if they respond with Charizard EX, you don't really care. You can just go Roaring Moon to close out the game. So I think that's why this deck did well. It looks like they went pretty consistent as well. They're playing a Ditto here. I'm seeing they had the Forest Seal Stone still with the Raikou, which is a little bit interesting. I don't really like that. Only one target for the Seal Stone, but yeah, it makes sense to me. I think this is probably the way to play Lost Zone going forward. I think the Hands and the Roaring Moon gives you a realistic prize map against a lot of matchups, especially Charizard. But one Lost City and Charizard kind of ruins the strategy of that deck. So or a Radiant Charizard.
Yeah, and they all play it now, so I don't know.
Yeah, so no, I think it's fine. It's a good deck. I'm sure you hit some good matchups. But the other deck I want to talk about is the Roaring Moon EX deck with Darkrai V-Star. So Roaring Moon obviously was hyped a lot going to this format. It's kind of flopped. It's gotten top 16 at one of those European regionals. It's had a couple day twos, but I do feel like there's still no list that everybody settled on as the one to play. So this list had Cross Transceiver and it had Darkrai V-Star. So first thing, do you know what Cross Transceiver does?
Okay, this is like good Pokemon trivia. I think it's play 2, get a supporter.
Yeah, it is. I'm just double checking like right now because I'm not 100%.
Let's go.
That's why I was asking.
Dude, like I needed that one for my card knowledge ego because I don't know many cards. I needed that one badly.
You also, I'm gonna give you half points now because you could also put a Pokemon or a supporter card for your discard into your hand. But yeah, that's kind of
good actually.
I guess the idea is like you just like spam a Seda or a boss every turn. It's like a worse Verse Seeker. I don't know if you need it necessarily, but yeah, they don't play Cross Switcher, which I think a lot. Oh no, they do play Cross Switcher. So wait, why were they playing? I'm actually not sure why they're playing the Cross Transceiver, to be honest. Because in my experience, a lot of my juniors I work with, they play Roaring Moon. I've never felt the need for the Cross Transceiver. They play Shoes in this list, which I really like. I mean, I guess maybe the logic is you play Cross Transceiver, like your Darkrai's turn into supporters. But yeah,
Well, the thing with Moon as well is like a lot of the time, like the game plan of that deck is just go crazy, go stupid, and
yeah.
like your win con is just like just run over the other person. So if you've like cross receivers, I guess like you're so it's like that old logic where like you're so high rolly anyways. You're like, what's the bad part of having 4 more jank cards in my deck if they have like a crazy upside? I guess.
Yeah, but
So I kind of get it. And I just, you know what, man? Like, it gets to a point where we have to just let the Japanese cook. I think we
yeah,
have to
let 'em
stop
cook.
asking questions. Just let them cook. Like,
Yeah.
they always come up with this crazy stuff.
No, 100%. Because like they always just play the most jank lists, and I always look at them I'm like, this is horrible. But they always get results, so I can't hate too much. Just for me, it's like that's 4 spots. Like those are like that's a lot of space that could go to other cards. Like you could just play another copy of Boss. You could play like Pokegear. Also, I don't see Energy Switch in this list, which I have found to be a really important card in Roaring Moon. Like, it really helps you get the turn 1 off. They only play 1 Switch card, too. So I don't know how they're attacking turn 1 with this deck consistently. So if you want
Well, they play Darkrai V-Star as well, right? So I guess maybe it's more tailored to not going crazy, go stupid. Like, maybe you just want more of a late game.
But this deck doesn't have late... Like, late game is literally, like, you need to, like, crush early game, and late game is find boss to finish the game for my opponent's, like, has a chance to run me over, so... I don't know, the way this
this guy would like to have a word with you.
No,
I don't know.
Obviously, it's working for him, but just the way he built the deck kind of goes against what I think the strategy of the deck is, which is just go turbo, go fast. And he cut a lot of the cards that let it go turbo, go fast. But he did well, so there's another build that people can try out if you're interested in the Moon. And yeah, last deck I wanted to talk about that did well this turn. Oh, no, sorry, there's 2 more. We had Gholdengo with Palkia get 3rd. There's no list for this one, so I wish I could see that. It might have been on the stream. I think it was on the stream, so maybe I can go back and watch it later. But Aneil, what do you think about Gholdengo EX? Since this is another card that's kind of struggled to take off since our new format.
I like that card a lot. I really wanted that card to be good. It's actually one of my favorite new Pokemon. Just like I just look at it, it's like a cheese strings dude. It's pretty cool. Or one of those like dudes that's at the dealerships that go woo. Like with the air. Yeah. So like I vibe with this Pokemon. I want it to be good. I understand I think how that deck works. Like I understand the concept behind it. Like Palkia is just like it just has good stats. Whereas Gholdengo's there just to blow up anything Palkia can't really deal with. So I understand how that works. I'm happy that it's doing well, but like again, it's one of those things where obviously it's very niche, it's very interesting. And I guess part of it goes to show like how diverse this meta is, and the other half of it I think goes to show that Japan is a very different place.
Yeah, exactly.
you have a bit of both.
I mean, yeah, to me it's weird. It's like the problem with Gholdengo is it doesn't have a 1 prize attacker. Like, some people were playing Scizor when they were trying the deck originally, which made sense. I'm just curious why Palkia is the thing that goes with it. I don't know. Can Palkia V-Star to non-water Pokemon? No, right? Like.
No, it can't. I think it's just for the stats, to be honest. Like, because Gholdengo's similar stats, but like you get in trouble when you're trying to trade. Like, say you're playing against Miraidon, right? And you need 5 energies each turn. I think that's when you kind of get in trouble when you're not able to save your Gholdengos for huge KOs, and you're like going in against like a Raichu V, discarding 4 or something or 5 of the charm. So I think it's just to get rid of like a bit of that awkwardness, if I were to guess, and like add Greninja as well.
I guess it's like an early game attacker, but it's just like. I feel like there must be better pairings for it, but I mean, it's
use
now
Melanie, use Greninja, you can use. The list isn't out, so I have no idea what it played. But my mind, that makes sense.
I just checked, like it's on the YouTube VOD if anyone wants to go watch it. But it just again, it's like similar to what I was talking with the Round Moon deck. It just seems like those 2 cards don't pair well together because like Melanie cannot work on Gholdengo. Palkia's V-Star power doesn't work with Gholdengo, and it's like I guess, like, because you're saying, like, turn 2, it's kind of hard to get Gholdengo fully online, so you want Palkia as your backup attacker, but, like, then it just seems like it's slow, or it's, like, clunky, like, it's weak to lightning, so, again, Miraidon's...
By no means am I saying I would play this deck. I'm just trying to rationalize what this
I'm trying to rationalize it, too. Because, like, obviously, like, it works somewhat if someone's getting top 4 at, I'm pretty sure these tournaments have, like, 3,000 people, so... Yeah, so anyways, if you're interested in Gholdengo, now there's like a proven list out there with the results. So that'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see if anyone actually like takes Gholdengo like further now. Because I don't think the deck's horrible. Like on paper, like one-shotting everything and having a draw engine is nice. It just needs that like single prize attacker. I don't know if Scizor is it, but to me that's what's holding it back the most. For right now, it's just like a budget Chien-Pao deck to me. And then moving on to the next most interesting deck, we had Zeraora VMAX with... Actually, it was one Zeraora VMAX, one Zeraora V-Star with Arceus. So, Neil, do you know what either of those cards do?
Okay. This is a lot tougher. I think Zeraora V-Star, like its V-Star power, like snipes 60 times some sort of amount of energy or some sort of summation of something. And the only reason I somewhat know this is because one of my locals, shout out Mario, great guy, he's fixated on getting Zeraora VMAX / V-Star to work in Miraidon. So I've been victimized multiple times, but I don't remember exactly what the attack does, and you can tell me if I was on the right track.
Okay, so it does choose one of your opponent's Pokemon 4 times. For each time you choose a Pokemon, do 60 damage to it.
Okay, so I was on the right track. I didn't have it fully, but roughly. So sorry, he played this with Arceus and Flying Pikachu, you said?
Yeah, it was like a Lightning Arceus deck. So
Interesting.
I mean, I guess we have seen a lot of people cut Manaphy lately. Otherwise, the V-Star seems a little tough to use. I mean, I guess it's a surprise factor, because to be honest, I didn't know what that card did. So if someone played that in a tournament, like, I would not have benched Manaphy game 1. And then, yeah, the VMAX is 60 for each ability of your opponent's Pokemon as an ability. And then its second attack is 240 for 3. Okay. So, I'm not 100% sure. Like, I guess this is just like an anti-meta deck. I mean, you got Flying Pikachu for the basic decks. I guess that should be pretty good against Miraidon, in theory. I mean, they play rope, so they can get around it, but I guess Zeraora is just a beat stick. I don't know, it's a little surprising to me. They played Path, so I guess you have to judge Path combo. I saw here they had Canceling Clones. That's probably how you do the Zeraora. So I guess their theory is against Lost Zone decks, you just clone, take 2 prizes. Against other decks, do that. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's another one of these decks where I'm like, it feels like it's trying to do too much, but it did well, so.
If you told me this was top 8 of a league challenge in Yukon, I'd probably believe you. These decks make no sense, but honestly, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I love this.
I mean, this is also goes to show, right? Lots of creativity. There's, even if your deck is in theory not as good or tier 1 or it's rogue, you can still do well. So, yeah, honestly, very interesting results. The rest of the top 16 is just all decks we expect. Charizard, Gardevoir, I'm seeing Rapid Strike, Mew. So, yeah, but 3 very big surprises. So, it'll be interesting to see if any of these decks make their way over to the West. I think the next regional is Portland in a few weeks. So, we'll see. We'll see if these shake up the meta at all. If we'll see Zeraora in day 2 of Portland. But my prediction is going to be no, but still cool results nonetheless.
So now that this is out of the way, let's hit our burning topic discussion here. And I have an opinion about this that I haven't really voiced yet, but what are your initial thoughts? And I know you said this on Twitter, but for anybody who didn't see what you said, what are your initial thoughts on Prime Catcher as an ace-spec and ace-specs returning in general?
So, I mean, I think ace-specs returning was fine. I think the design mechanic is good. Anything Radiance, the Prism of Stars, whenever you can have one, and they can give it a cool effect, it's good. They almost ruined the whole thing with Prime Catcher already. Because the power level of Prime Catcher is so high that an ace spec has to be absurdly broken for you to even consider playing a different one instead of the Prime Catcher.
Mm-hmm.
They revealed the Neo Energy or whatever. It's a double rainbow for evolutions. I'm that's a really cool card. It'll probably see extremely limited play just because Catcher is so strong. And it's just we've seen in the history of the game, the strongest item card of all time is probably Pokemon Catcher, Gust of Wind. Boss
100%.
and Guzma are already played in almost every single deck since they've been legal. And then you just put in the effect on an item. So it's just to me, it's just unnecessary. It's why does this card need to exist? It's a one-of copy. So if people play this in their deck and they don't have a way to search for it, you're just introducing more randomness to the games. Who draws Prime Catcher at the opportune times. Again, you're accelerating games because you're just giving more Gust. And Gust as an effect is if you're winning, you use Gust to keep slowing down your opponent's setup. You use Gust to punish stuff like Lumineon. It just keeps speeding up the game. To me, it's just we don't need cards like this. They had such a great effort, I think, recently to put more comeback mechanics, allow for more setup decks. We're seeing stage 2 decks the first time in a long time doing really well in the meta. But just I don't know, more Gust to me, especially unconditional Gust, is just unnecessary. Just in my opinion, it's bad for the game. And then secondly, ace specs, it almost feels the mechanic is dead on arrival since the first ace spec they're going to print is going to probably be the strongest one. Like, it's going to be really
The best
hard to
one.
top. Like, even if they print computer search again, I don't even know if you would play computer search over the prime catcher. So that's just my initial take. Like, I don't think the game's ruined or anything. Like, it's like the game will go on. To me, it's just like unnecessary. It's like, why does this need to exist?
Yeah, I don't love it either. But if you remember the last time they came out with Apex, Comp Search was the first one they printed.
Yep.
And that also ended up being one of the best ones. My take on this whole thing is I agree with you in the sense that it adds way too much randomness into the game. So like basically you're just taking the game and you're adding more RNG into it. And whether like every time Pokemon does this thing where they like go in one direction, you can kind of see a trend in why it exists. So like with the comeback potential, it's like, okay, we want to make slower decks do better. With like Iron Hands, they're like, okay, 50 minutes BO3 is not enough time. Let's hurry this thing up. Like there's always kind of like an underlying message that you can deprive from it. I'm failing to see it right now. And like, I just don't understand why this card needs to really be a thing. Especially in a format where you have Radiance and V-Star powers. Like there's already so many of these one-off things. So like, for example, when Apex were out, GXs were not out. Like there was always like one of these mechanics at a time. Or when Prisms were out, I guess GXs were out at that time. But those are not overpowering things really. So I'm surprised. I'm surprised that Apex came out right now, and like in a time where the game is fresh and it's booming and like it's in a good spot. I'm surprised they really like shook it up again. I feel like you could have waited like 3-4 months or 5 months to see if the game dies. Yeah, so I'm surprised.
They always want to just introduce new mechanics. Like it just seems like something they like to do. And like I was saying, like I don't think there's anything wrong with Apex, but like you were saying, the first time they made Apex, they printed computer search in the first batch, and computer search was like so good that it didn't really make sense to play most of the other Apex. Like eventually Dowsing Machine saw play, which was just discard 2, get a trainer, for anyone who doesn't know what that card does. But you had a lot of other like really interesting Apex, like the Gold Potion that healed 90, or you had like the Scramble Switch that was like it's switch, but you can also move all the energies from the active to the new one. Like a lot of really cool cards that like I think would have seen a lot of play in like a lot of decks, but it was really hard to justify playing those cards instead of just playing computer search or Dowsing Machine. So it'll be interesting to see as we go on, like the other Apex they print. Like if this is the first one, the Prime Catcher, like I'm pretty sure the next Apex they print are going to be like extremely powerful. And they have to be if they want to have a chance to be played. And the only other thing that I think was interesting is like they made an energy in A-Spec, because last time it was only trainers. So we might see like A-Spec supporters, we might see like A-Spec like tools, if they used to do that. Like they used to print tools for specific Pokemon, which will kind of like enable decks. So yeah, it'll be interesting what they do going forward here with the A-Specs.
As long as I never see a Life Dew again, I'll be okay. But I don't ever want to see a Life Dew again.
Life Dew was a cool A-Spec though.
But it like enabled so much just like, I don't know, not degeneracy, but like definitely not like positive things.
The decks it was played in were degenerate, like control decks. But for anyone listening who doesn't know that card, it was a tool where if your opponent knocks you out, they take one less prize. But I mean, we have vacuum,
and you could recycle it with Junk Hunt.
Yeah, I mean, if you have vacuum, once you vacuum it, the thing's gone forever. But
true.
Yeah. Anyways, so that's a little bit of Old Man Yells at Cloud for the design. I think, I don't know, we can move on from this topic just because, like, I have nothing more good.
I'm heated right now, bro. I'm heated about this damn Prime Catcher right now.
Like, obviously, I'm going to play the card when it comes out. But...
Oh, bro, we're all going to play the card. Yeah. Just the problem is your opponent, who's been playing the game for 2 weeks, is probably going to drop before you. And you're going to lose the game because he drew it off his first research and yours is at the bottom of your deck. But, you know what, man, that's neither here nor there. And, like, they also reprinted some, like, cool old mechanic cards. Yep. So, like, the Team Plasma, like, build kind of thing is back with Cobalion in hands. And then there was, what was the one prizer? It was Valiant. That was, like, the Plasma Curum. So, like, we're seeing more and more of these old kind of things pop up. And for players like us who've been around for a long time, to me, I love it. Like, I love the recycling of the old mechanics, being able to like play things that you used to. So like when Baxcalibur Chien-Pao was reprinted, it was like Keldeo Blastoise, like whatever. There's a ton of things. A-Specs, now this. I like it. I think it's really good. It brings nostalgia back, can bring some of those players back as well. So I recently had a buddy who just started playing the game. The last deck he played was Keldeo Blastoise. And then he saw like Chien-Pao Baxcalibur. He's like, wait, I kind of know how to play this. So it lets you like cycle those people back in a sense too. So with the new reveals, I'm pretty happy with them, other than like random degen Prime Catcher, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean the set has all the black and white legendaries, or I guess the Valiant versions of them, or future versions of them, and like all the cards seem to be callbacks to black and white.
Hmm.
So I think that was thematically on purpose. So yeah, let's talk about them. So I think the first, probably the most playable of the bunch, is the Iron Crown EX. This is the Cobalion, where it's your future Pokemon's attacks do 20 more damage, and it stacks. So if you have 4 in play, you do an extra 80. So. And then, like you were saying, they introduced an Iron Valiant that it just does 120 damage as its second attack, and its first attack is kind of irrelevant. It's like 20 and 20, I think. So, Neil, what do you think about this? Is there any like deck this enables, or is there any future cards right now that don't see that much play that you think could see play now that we have this card?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of mechanics that are going to get unlocked. As far as future cards that I don't think are seeing play right now that could, I don't have anything off the top of my head. I know there's some really strong ancients. Like there's a lot of really strong ancients. Like the Sandy Shocks is really good, which is like that Magneton, which lets you attach energies if you're down on prizes. There's a Slitherwing, which is I think ancient Volcarona. Like I'm still trying to put together all these names.
By this card.
Yeah. Sorry, I mean just like the ancient ones you can use with Sada. Like, I think Sada Box is going to be a real thing, which I know we're going to talk about at some point. But I do think, like, all these future and ancient Pokemon, just to tie it all back together, are getting boosts, like, actively. Which is, like, kind of unlike what we've seen recently with, like, Rapid Strike, Single Strike being printed for one set. Yeah. Fusion Strike literally got, like, a Mew, a Genesect, and a Toxtricity, and then got told off, basically. Like, there wasn't much going on with that. So it's nice to see these things, like, actually get some love. And I do think that this Iron Crown is good. Can it keep up in a format with like Miraidon? Maybe not, because it can just go 2-2-2 and win the game like every single time. But I do think overall it's good. And I think if the format shifts to more of like a high HP kind of format, so like a Gardevoir or Mew VMAX kind of format, which is what it is right now, it could do well because you'd rely a lot on those one shots and taking 2 prizes with like hands and stuff. So yeah. I do think it can be pretty good.
Yeah, to me the best combo with it is the Iron Hands, but you kind of need a lot of these on the bench. So I don't know what else you have to power up your Iron Hands if you're playing this. So to me, immediately, I don't think this is going to have any tier 1 decks, but it's like one of those cards where it's like whenever you see a future Pokemon, like if they keep putting them in the next sets, it's like, hey, you have to think about this card. And you can tell when I first was reading the new cards, like before I saw the Cobalion card, I was like, why did these do like no damage? But it's like very clear that they're designing all the future cards with this thing in mind. So yeah. All right, let's talk about the other beasts. We have Terrakion Iron Boulder EX. I think this card is horrible.
Yep.
So we're not going to waste your time.
We can skip that.
And then Virizion, the Iron Leaves EX. This just seems like a Charizard EX, like perfect counter. I don't see many other applications of this. Like in the past, like abilities like this were used in like tank heal decks. Like you would move it in, like heal something that you move to the bench, I'll move the energies. But it has 220 health. So I think whenever this attacks, it's going down. So to me, this just seems like if your deck can play Grass Energy, it's any number of energies. So I guess you can put like Rainbow type energies if we have any. I don't think we do. But if you play like Lost Box, for example, you can play this card. So it just seems like a Charizard counter. Like, I don't know. Does it seem like anything else to you, Neil?
Not really. It is just a Charizard counter. Yeah. And like, that's fine. Like, you need checks like this. Charizard's been getting off the rails lately, so I'm cool with this.
Exactly. Okay, so then we have the Johto Beast. We got the Raikou, Suicune, Entei. They all got their own cards as well. So we have the Gouging Fire EX. I love these names, by the way, for the Paradox Pokemon. They just like they're not like Ancient Entei. They're like, no, you get like Gouging Fire. So they're
so random.
Yeah, it is very random. All right, so the Entei just does 3 for 260, which is actually a lot on a basic. So we see in the past, like Dragonite saw play for a while doing 250. So I don't know, Fire decks can probably use this. Lost Box can probably use this. It seems decent. I can't think of like many like huge applications. I know the Iron Valiant deck right now plays Entei V. Maybe you can play this. I mean, it takes 3 energy, so I don't know how you're getting the third one in one turn, but yeah, I know. What do you think about this? Any applications right away you're seeing with this card?
Well, here's the thing. So here's the thing with like looking at all these cards. Right now, I'm scared. Well, not scared, but I'm like weary to dissect it because when we get these cards, we're gonna have a different format. Like just by the time we get this, it's gonna be rotation. Everything is gonna be different. So I don't know. Like we're losing a lot of like very relevant cards, like VIP Pass and like some of your like basic ball search, like Level Ball, Fog Crystal. Like that stuff's all going away. So in a lot of senses, the format may slow down a little bit. To which like a card like Prime Catcher maybe isn't even that impactful. Like, I think it's obviously going to be really, really good, but maybe it won't be as bad as what we think right now. So I think there's a lot going on. So, like, even when I realized this after I said it, when I said, like, Miraidon deals with Iron Crown, Miraidon loses Flaffy.
Yeah, it's
So,
a
like,
loss.
yeah, like, I don't even know, like, that deck will obviously still be a thing, but it's definitely going to lose quite a bit. So,
Yeah.
things are going to get shaken up, and, like, I like looking at these cards for face value, but I think that's all we can really take out of them right now. Like, you don't know what the meta is going to be, so it's kind of tough.
We've got to value them in a vacuum. My one worry, like, or my issue with these cards, and this again goes back to my old man yelling at Cloud thing, is, like, these are all basics with, like, 220 to 230 HP. Like, none of these are surviving more than a turn anymore. So, like, if you attack with this, like, they basically have to take 2 prizes right away, and then you have to expect them to go down. So, because, like, yeah, a lot of them have, like, cool, like, effects or attacks, but, like, they're not going to stay on the board very long. So, yeah, this, like, the Entei just seems like it's a beat stick, take something else. So it seems decent. It does seem decent in a vacuum. Like, I feel like it'll see some play at some point. Okay, let's move on to the Suicune, the Walking Wake EX. So, its ability is basically Shred, like damage from its attacks aren't affected by effects. It does 120 for 3, and if your opponent's act is affected by a special condition, do 240. It seems pretty mediocre to me. Like, there's not many ways to do a special condition right now. I guess there's the
Amoonguss.
Amoonguss. I forget what it's called. It's like Paradox name, but
Brute Bonnet.
The Brute Bonnet. So I mean, the Suicune is an ancient Pokemon, so you can play the booster capsule in the deck. So I guess maybe that's how you have to play these cards. You have to put the booster capsule so they like live more than one shot. Initial impression on this is like it's okay. I mean, Shred is always good as an effect. Maybe if a Sada toolbox deck does exist, like this could be decent. Because I guess you could play the Amoonguss in it. But this card seems
This is giving me Welder right now. It's really giving me Welder. Yeah. Like Welder box kind of thing.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't hate it either. I don't hate it. Like, I actually think like decks like this are actually kind of good for the format. Like, as much as I hated Welder and like what it was worth, I don't think this, like, obviously this isn't as overpowering as Welder, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of like toolbox decks existing in the format. And like, I think we've started, like, at least you and I, and like I would say like the old heads as a whole, we started enjoying this game more recently, like when there's like 10, like 15, like top 3 tier decks that are good. Because it reminds you of like when the game was truly like healthy, quote unquote. Because you have like all these different decks and all these different ways to attack where like if you prefer one variant of a deck, you can kind of just run with that for the full format. So the more of these decks that come out, I think the happier I am personally, and I think most people kind of are on that same wavelength. So I'm cool with these cards all being good.
Yeah, I think just like in general, when there's deck building flexibility, and that's what toolbox decks allow, like it makes it fun. So hopefully, Seda Toolbox is a good deck. And okay, the last of the beast here, probably the best one, is the Raging Bolt EX, the Raikou. So its first attack is just discard your hand, draw 6. That's like fine if you go second. But its second attack, we see this attack really get printed all the time. So it's discard any amount of energy you want from your Pokemon and do 70 damage for each. It takes a lightning and a fighting energy though. But if you're playing Seda Toolbox, like that probably isn't that hard to get. So yeah, this actually seems pretty decent. You need an accelerator with it, so you can hit the big numbers. But like if they print any Pokemon that has like a Dynamotor type ability, like I think this card will be like its own deck for sure.
Charging up, and then what was the other one? What was Naganadal's attack?
Naganadal's
something
attack?
Stinger.
Oh yeah, it was not Beast Stinger. It was.
It was 80 plus 80 if they had 3 prizes or whatever.
It was something.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm just seeing like shades of Blounds when I look at this card. Like this just screams Blacephalon to me, which honestly, like it's fine. Like it screams like Ray Eels, I guess, just as much as it screams Blacephalon.
It's like Rayquaza EX pretty much.
Yeah, or like Ultra Necrozma GX basically. So like, hey, honestly, like it's diverse, it's fun. Like it gives people like a big blow up deck to try and play as well. So I'm happy with this. Like these cards seem interesting, and they all, I don't want to say like they all seem like reprints in some way, but it definitely feels like we're touching on a lot of different random formats that we're putting all together right now.
Yeah, I mean, Pokemon at its core, like, reprints a lot of the mechanics. Like, Rain Dance, for example, is, like, a evergreen ability. Like, Dynamotor, they normally like to have one. Like, an attack like this has always, like, not always, but ever since the 3V Sapphire has existed. So, it is a fun attack. Like, people like these type of decks. So I think it's gonna have to wait for its partner. But like this is a card that I know like we'll probably see competitive play at some point. Anything that can do unlimited damage will always see play.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, moving on. The last Pokemon that got revealed, I think that's somewhat relevant, is the Fluttermane. So I think a lot of people thought the Fluttermane was going to be broken, like Gardevoir was going to get some help for post-rotation, but to be honest, it's pretty tame. Its effect is just that as long as it's in the active, your opponent's active has no abilities. And then its attack is just 3 for 90 and put 2 damage on the bench. So, I don't know, this seems a bit weak to me. I feel like it's just there in case they want to print something with a strong ability that goes in the active. But for now, like I don't think, even post-rotation, I don't see this seeing much play. Like, what is this stopping? Like, I can't really think of much. Like, I guess you're stopping, like... Actually, that's not fair. You're stopping Comfy.
Flower selecting. Yeah, for sure.
We already have Klefki, though. And, like, that sees not that much play. So...
Well, what I was going to say is I think they kind of saw Klefki and they're like... They're not saying, like, oh, we fumbled the bag. But they're like, this card's not really as good as everyone thought it would be. So this... Fluttermane thing this mischievous thing, whatever we're calling it, just looks like a stronger version of Klefki in some ways. Like obviously,
it can't stop.
I think it is.
I think Klefki's stronger.
Maybe.
Because
I actually don't know.
You shut off like stuff like Greninja.
But this actually like does something. So like the issue with Klefki is like when you're sitting there with a Klefki active, your opponent's doing nothing, but you're also doing nothing. Yeah, so it's just redundant. Bro. Yeah, you're literally jousting for 10. So, like,
that is true.
This at least, like, it has some merit to it. Like, you're hitting for some numbers here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so this might see niche play, but I don't think it'll see a lot. Okay, moving on to the trainers. We actually had some pretty strong supporters that got revealed. So, the first one is Explorer's Guidance. It's kind of reminiscent of Sage's Training. Look at the top 6 cards of your deck, put 2 of them into your hand, discard the others. So, this is probably, like, pretty good, like, more aggressive decks. Or combo-y decks where you need like certain cards. We see some decks play Colress even when they're not Lost Zone decks. Like maybe they'll play this card. Like I don't know, decks that like to discard stuff, like maybe Roaring Moon, like might play this card. I don't know. What type of decks do you think are gonna play this card?
Exactly what you said. Yeah. Those decks that just want to draw 2 or whatever. Like you're like not your like arc piles of the world, but more so just like decks that need combo pieces for the most part. So like I like Valiant Entei is a really famous one that plays Colress. Just because you look at your top 5 and like 3 of those are probably gonna be like switching cards and the other 2 are supporters or whatever. Like you just take whatever you need at that time. So I think this is more or less the same thing. And it's probably a little bit better because you're not like lost zoning everything.
Yeah. And like any deck that can take advantage like discarding cards might be good. So yeah, this will be like a niche supporter, but I'm sure it'll see some play. And then the other one that I think is actually pretty good, it's Cryptomaniac's Deciphering. So we've seen this effect before on supporters, but it's search your deck for 2 cards, shuffle, and then put them on top. So yeah, you basically get to pick any 2 cards. You do need a way to fetch them, but I mean, we have so much draw. We have Kirlia, we have Bibarel, Mew EX, you can even play Pokestop. So I think this card's really good. I've seen some people already, myself included, thinking about playing this in Chien-Pao. You can just put like Cross Switcher if you need it. I guess you just play boss at that point, but you can put like Cologne, I guess, on top, like stuff like that. The other really big thing with this card is it kind of Iono-proofs you. So like late in the game, like let's say you just have a commanding board and you just need like boss to win. You can just do this card and put boss on top, and like your opponent really, like what can they do? So Roxanne might go up and play if this card really does take off as a way to counter Iono. But yeah, Neil, what do you think about this card?
I think it's obviously like really synergistic with Greninja as well. And like that's the most like splashable one. Like you think about like just any deck can play this. So I actually like this card. Like I remember playing Malo, I think that was the old supporter's name, in like Zoroark or like Zoropod, whatever it was. Like in those decks where you need like specific things at very specific times. So like Gardevoir would be a great user of this, I think. Where you're digging for your last, I don't know, reversal or whatever it is, and you just throw it on top. So I like the card. I think it and like I said, it's another revisited mechanic that we're going back on, and it's a good thing. Like you put all these things together. Obviously, Curly is really powerful. Greninja is really powerful. I don't know how that's going to change, like for Gardevoir, because I don't think Gardevoir is really going to be too strong next format. I hope I'm wrong, but losing Arcana is tough, right?
Yeah, that's really hard.
Yeah, I don't know how it's gonna really overcome that. Like, you're probably gonna have to play like Drifloon with like capes and like
No, it sounds
Scream
horrible.
Tails. It doesn't seem good. So yeah, I don't know. I hope this helps Gardevoir a little bit. I think the Moonlight Stadium will also help Gardevoir a little bit. Whenever is that what it's called? Sorry, I forget what it's called.
Yeah, like the one where
The
it's
new
just
one we're supposed to get.
discard a psychic, heal 3 damage.
Yeah. So like, I'm hoping it gets some tools to allow it to survive. This might be one of those things. So we'll see. We'll see. I hope it's good.
Yeah, but no, I think it's a really, really good card. Yeah, I don't think I missed anything else. Like there was Master Ball got reprinted, but that's not going to see play. There's some other like, there's like Miraidon and Koraidon. The Miraidons are dragon. Actually, they're both dragon types. Actually,
They're both dragons.
I feel like we haven't seen that in a while. Like I feel like there's not that many dragon types in the card game right now. Like there's Giratina.
Yeah.
Does any other dragon types you play? Like I can't.
Garchomp.
Garchomp?
Garchomp V.
Yeah, that doesn't see play.
It's a dragon type. It's not play. No, like
Yeah.
playing wise, no, I have no idea. I don't think there's anything, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't know. It's interesting. It seems like they're bringing it back a bit. It's just hard for dragons because they always make them use like multiple energy to attack. So.
Yeah, that's the problem. And like, I think as well, like, I don't want to say dragons are a dying breed, but with like fairy like gone, it's so hard to check them. Like, I think as a game maker, yeah, if I was a game maker, I'd be like, what the hell do I even do with these? Like, if one's like too OP, how do I ever counter this?
Yeah.
So like, imagine like Mew VMAX was a dragon type, like randomly. There'd be no counter to it. Like you'd literally have to print like Spiritomb in set 1 as opposed to Mighty Anna to stop the entire deck from working, because as a game maker, as like a planner, you have to kind of see 2 sets in advance. And like, if you somehow mess this up, like the margin for error is so small.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, they could make dragons weak to other dragons, but I guess not.
Yeah, that would just ensue chaos, I think.
Yeah, because I'm looking now. Like, I don't think they gave any of the dragons a weakness or a resistance. Yeah, they're just like, hey, whatever. But yeah, that would be chaos.
Yeah, like imagine if Tina was weak to itself. Like you're staring down into a Tina V-Star and you're like, shred.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I mean, that's all the cards I think we wanted to talk about. I mean, there's still more to come in the set, so hopefully there's more exciting ones. But yeah, it'll be interesting. This will be the set we get for EUIC. So I'm sure it'll be a big shakeup when you get these cards in rotation. But moving on, I know you wanted to talk about a project that someone in the community worked on that they released this week. So Neil, do you want to segue to that?
Yeah, really cool project I just saw for the first time from Zhao Zhao. He created a like play TCG / PTCGO / PTCG Live like kind of client all put together, and I was thinking about it. It kind of brought up some memories for me, like playing play TCG growing up, like. And having access to like any card you want at all times. And I know like Live does a great job of doing that, but I'm talking like formats past. Like you want to play 2011 with your boys, you can do that. Like I kind of like that idea, and like I just wanted to shout out like his work, what he's doing. Obviously, that couldn't have been easy to code all that. So if y'all want to go send him some love, like go through for us, like his thing, use his client, like see how the client is. I haven't had a chance to use it yet. But I'm assuming it's pretty cool, and it's something we've been missing for a really, really long time. So that was one thing that made me smile this week for sure.
Yeah, 100%. It's like if anyone's ever used like Limitless tabletop, like where you like send the game, it's basically like that, but 2 players, which is like awesome. And I think it's great too because it's a free alternative. So like I know like it's pretty easy to get cards on Live, but like for some people, like if you can't afford the cards or you just want to like have a faster way to play, it's really good for that. So actually, no, do you remember what the name of it is? It's PTCG Sim, right?
I think so.
Yeah, it's PTCG Sim .online. So yeah, everyone go check it out. Zhao Zhao just launched it, so if you have any feedback, any bugs, I'm sure you'd love to hear it. But yeah, it's super cool. So really happy with this. I know we also have that other group with Dan TDM. They're doing that thing called Twin Leaf. They've been working on. I saw Zool and Chip on their podcast. They had them on talking about that. So yeah, it seems like we're in for some treats from the community with some of the crowdsourced coding efforts.
Yeah, and there's a lot of struggle too, like with like making those online tourneys for like old formats and stuff. So this should make things a lot easier. Like, I mean, I can speak like from a personal perspective. I would love to get involved with like 2012, 2013, whatever format it is that you like, playing those like tourneys and stuff. It's just so hard because nothing supports it. And just imagine like you're chilling on Live and you're like, I am so tired of playing like Charizard Mirror Match 4 hours a day. Let me just grab Lux Chomp. Like that sounds sick.
I mean, there is TCG1. I don't know if you've used that before. Like,
Yes.
I still play it sometimes, but I used to play it a lot during COVID. But it's like, if anyone has never played it, it's actually kind of like live, where it's like, it's coded. There's no animations or anything. It's very basic. But they have like almost all the formats up until like up until now, I think almost. They stopped maybe in Sword and Shield Scarlet Violet. But yeah, like I play a lot of like Ruby Sapphire to Power Keepers. You can play like, if you want to play like 2013 on there. And they have a pretty good community, so check it out. And if you're interested in old format, like Jason Kladinsky has a great blog where he goes through all the decks. So yeah, there's lots of options now, but that was lacking like a standard set. 'Cause it's really hard for them to keep developing like every time a new set comes out. I mean, obviously people who work on live, it's their full-time job, and these people do it as a hobby. So yeah, I'm always super appreciative for like not just what like people like Zhao are doing, like people like Limitless do, like PokeStats, like all of them. Like, it's so awesome that we have those in the community.
It's all things we never used to have. Like, these are all like free to use things that like we never used to have. So this is cool. Like, as the community grows, you get more assets, more resources, and that's sick. And like, I know there's people who dedicate their lives whose full-time job is PTCG Live. You wouldn't know it playing the client, but there are people, and that is their job. But like, it's sick that people just take their time out of their day and just kind of do this. So any way we can support them, obviously. If you can spare a couple bucks, whatever their donation is, like I try to do it sometimes too, just to keep those sites going and stuff. It's always helpful to them as creators. So
yeah, 100%.
It's sick to kind of see that going. I'm excited to play it.
Yeah, actually, let me ask you a question. If
Sure.
Carlos Pero did not make Arcanine Labs, would we still be using paper pairings?
I actually don't know. I think so. I actually don't think there's like a real alternative to what he made that the Pokemon Company is capable of making themselves.
Because like, I think the other games, like, I'm not 100%. I'm pretty sure Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh have online pairings too. Like, they must. So I wonder if Pokemon would have done it. But like, it's kind of crazy that like up until I don't remember what year like Arcanine got like normal, but it might have even been like 2018 or something. But we used to literally have like 1,000 people tournaments, and everyone would just go like look at pieces of paper for like our matches.
I still think it's crazy that we use like paper match slips. I think it's insane. I was playing another game. I don't remember what game it was, but I was playing in a tournament like not long ago. And the confirmation like win-loss system is purely digital. And it makes so much more sense.
Yeah.
Like, so on, like, imagine like they used Arcanine. What it would do is like after you sit down for your game, it would prompt you to say who won, who lost, any notes you have. And then if you select like, oh, I won, your opponent has to select I lost. And if you don't, then it like sends a message to both of you saying like, please come to the judge table and figure this out.
Yeah.
And I think that's just genius.
Yeah, I think it'd be really nice. Like, maybe you keep the slip as like a backup, so like you sign that first and then you report. But then like, yeah, like, because a lot of times tournaments get held up because like a lot of people like don't turn in their match slips or whatever. So I think that is the next evolution of tournaments. I've heard people talk about that before. I think it's very doable to integrate. I don't see why not. So I mean, if you've ever played a Limitless online tournament, like that's how it works. So.
Yeah, like to automate anything at this point, like that can make us more efficient, especially when you're paying for venue space, makes a lot of sense. And like even Tom, I don't think is very well understood yet. And I know it's like relatively new, but like even like TOs and stuff don't really know how it works.
Well, yeah, because I know they had a huge failure because they coded that new system, and it was so bad that they had to go back to Tom. And I've seen Tom, like it literally looks like it is out of the early like 2000s. So.
Yeah, it's jank. Like when you look at it. Yeah. I was at a cup on the weekend and there was someone who had to go to a Christmas party at 5:00 or whatever, and they made top 8. So they said, hey, can you like drop me out of the tournament? And after the round was done, they had to leave, whatever. They're 3-on-1 making cut. And they came in at 8th. So the guy at 9th was like, okay, sick, I'm gonna get in at 8th. And what the organizer didn't know is that in Tom, the moment you submit the round results, and it's the last round, you can't drop somebody. So this person just went on to top 8, and the person in first seed got a free win.
Nice.
And it's like I thought about that, and like it's no fault of the organizer or the TO, right? Like, how are you supposed to know that? But you think about it, and you're like, this would never happen in most other games. Like, there just is such a lack of transparency, I think, with how the software works, and I see it all the time.
Yeah, I think the reason for that is because, like, you know how, like, at regionals, like, if you drop day 2, you're still in the tournament? Like, I think that's why, like, you can't do it. So the guy should just, like, scoop this last round then or something, but... Yeah, like once it's there, you can't draw people because then like they don't get points or whatever.
Yeah,
But,
it
like,
makes sense. It definitely makes sense.
honestly, anything technology related that comes from like the official Pokemon like TPCR that they use, like it can all be updated. So, and we're complaining, but we're not coding solutions. So,
That's true. That's true. I do a lot of complaining and I don't provide a lot of solutions. You're right. It was interesting. I just because I'd never really thought about that, and I was like, okay, this guy's going to a Christmas party. Like, just there should be a way to like manually override it, but there just isn't because this thing was made in like 1943. So it's always interesting.
yeah, no, exactly. So, yeah, just to close out here, I think we have Portland coming up in a week and a half. Aneil, do you expect any surprises there, or do you think we're just going to see the same of what we've been seeing at the past few regionals?
We've just gotten to the point where like everything is what it is.
Yeah.
Like, it's that like I normally say like triangle meta, but I think for this kind of meta, I need to say like an octahedron meta or something crazy where there's like a bunch of vertices because there's just so many like relevant decks going around and doing well that like you have no idea what's gonna do well. And like we obviously saw a big boom in Zard, and now like at least locally and like from who I talked to, I'm seeing a big boom in Guardy where people are like, okay, I want to beat Zard and play Guardy. So it's just all right, we go to the right, and then that deck gets good, and we go to the left, and it's just like, you know how it is. So
Yeah.
we'll see. I'm assuming, like, I would say probably Guardy's going to reign supreme again. Like, just people are going to realize this is probably the best deck in the format and start playing that again.
Yeah, I think people, if you like a deck in this format, keep playing it, and like we'll see maybe like 20% of the field like flip flop between like the core meta deck. So yeah, I don't expect any big surprises. Like I think one of the big four will take it down. We might see Gholdengo, Palkia, or Roaring Moon, or Zeraora VMAX.
I am down. I am so down.
But I would bet against it.
Yeah, so would I.
Also, it would be nice if I could see Chen Pao see Resurgence, but I don't think that's gonna happen. Hey, if I go to Knoxville, I want to play Chen Pao. So I hope I don't back out on my word, but I want to play Chen Pao again.
I think you'd make a lot of people happy if you did that.
Well,
I think you should do it.
It would make myself happy. Which is
That's all that matters. Like
Exactly.
you're at a point in your season where like, you know what? Like who cares? If you do something like with a deck that means a lot to you, it'll mean more anyways.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, hey, when the Prime Catcher comes out and that Mallow card comes out, I think Chen Pao might be back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And like, you know what though? Sometimes like,
now.
yeah, and sometimes like you can just like do things with decks that people forget about and just show up and it'll catch people off guard. Like I think recently people have forgotten about Guardy. Like they're like, this is a real deck. Like it just hasn't existed. And like, I don't know, like people are showing up now with Guardy and doing well. And like, I think Chen Pao is kind of similar. Like we have somebody locally who keeps doing well with Chen Pao like over and over and over. And I think it's just because people like kind of forget about it in their meta forecast and they play things that just lose to it.
Yeah. I mean, the other good thing for it is like I've seen like a ton of people cut Manaphy lately, especially the Tina decks. So like, hey, like if someone doesn't play Manaphy, that's pretty good for you. So
yeah, you're cooking.
Yeah. So if you are a Chen Pao enjoyer, Portland might be the tournament for it. But don't blame me when you stop way too early.
Yeah, I like it. I like the idea. I hope it does well.
Yeah.
But the last thing actually I want to close out on is I tweeted it midweek, but we now have our codes for Banana Games. If anybody, if anybody is interested in picking up some cards, some collectibles, some plushies, whatever you want, this is, I would say, probably the largest vendor in the GTA for plushies at the very least.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, a lot of options, a lot of things going on. If you would like to pick up anything, you can use the code KieranTCG or Aneil TCG at checkout. Either one, we don't care. And you'll get 5% off your entire order. And that's about all the advertising I care to do today. I'm a big paid advertiser, and I feel like I've been doing way too much of it recently. So that is the only advertising I'll be doing today, other than play Gholdengo at your League Cups.
Nice. Yeah. When I upload this to YouTube, I have to click the box that says paid promotion. All right. Well, Aneil's frozen on my screen, so I think that's a pretty good time to close it out. Glad this happened at the end. But thanks for listening, everybody. Hopefully you have a good rest of your holidays, and good luck if you have any Pokemon tournaments coming up. See you next week.